Aligning with your higher self. Seraphina Hartwell 5. Spiritual Awakening Book 11. Seraphina Hartwell. By Soul Sanctuary Audio. Copyright Seraphina Hartwell. Introduction. The Soul's Whisper. There is a voice within you, quiet, steady, loving, that has never left your side. You may have heard it in moments of peace or crisis, in the gentle nudge that defies logic, or the still presence that envelopes you in deep knowing. This voice is not your inner critic or your wounded ego, it is your higher self. In a world that often demands we move faster, try harder, and become more, the invitation of your higher self is radically different. It asks you to pause, listen, and remember who you truly are. It invites you to live from alignment rather than effort, from presence rather than performance. The journey of aligning with your higher self is not about fixing what is broken. It is about clearing the noise so that you can hear the clarity that has always been within. It is not about becoming spiritual. It is about realizing that you already are. We live in an age of external noise, constant comparisons, digital distractions, and societal scripts that define success, worth, and happiness. But your soul has its own rhythm. It speaks in feelings, symbols, synchronicities, and sensations. It leads not with pressure but with resonance. This book is a sacred guide for your return to that resonance. Through reflection, grounded practices, and soulful wisdom, you will learn to distinguish the voice of your soul from the voice of faith. You will strengthen your spiritual channel and live more fully from your own inner truth. You do not have to wait for a perfect moment to begin. You do not need anyone's permission. Your soul is ready now. All that's required is your willingness to turn inward, to ask deeper questions, and to trust what rises. Welcome to your alignment. Welcome to your remembering. 1. What is the higher self? Understanding soul consciousness. The higher self is not a concept to believe in. It is an experience to be lived. It is the divine part of you that exists beyond fear, beyond ego, beyond the temporary roles you play. Your higher self is your soul's essence, eternally wise, infinitely compassionate, and intimately connected to the divine source of all life. To understand the higher self, we must first understand what it is not. It is not the inner critic that keeps score of your mistakes. It is not the voice of comparison, urgency, or scarcity. It is not your past, nor is it your potential. It is the eternal now. It is the light that remains unchanged no matter what storms have come through. Our life. In every spiritual tradition, there is a recognition of this higher aspect of self. Some call it the Atman, the Christ self, the divine spark, or the God within. While the names may differ, the essence is the same, a presence that holds love, clarity, and guidance. When you live disconnected from this aspect of yourself, life can feel disjointed, overwhelming, or void of meaning. You may find yourself caught in patterns of self-doubt, external seeking, or emotional reactivity. But the moment you begin to realign with your higher self, everything changes. The world does not become easier, but it becomes clearer. You gain inner stability even when outer circumstances fluctuate. Ego and soul. 2 levels of operating. Imagine that you are both a wave in the ocean. The ego is the wave, temporary, reactive, focused on survival. It judges, compares, protects, and plans. The soul or higher self is the ocean, vast, still, wise, and aptly connected. The goal is not to destroy the ego but to place it in service to the soul. When the ego leads, fear rules. When the soul leads, love governs. Living from the higher self means that you no longer allow fear to take your path. This shift can be subtle at first. It may start with questioning long-held beliefs or noticing a longing for deeper truth. It might feel like a quiet dissatisfaction with the status quo or a sudden insight that changes how you see yourself. How the higher self communicates. The higher self does not shout. It speaks in whispers, nudges, and inner knowing. Communicates through feelings of peace and resonance, synchronicities and meaningful coincidences, dreams and visual imagery, moments of clarity or intuitive insight, a sense of being called, or led towards something. These signals often arise when you are quiet, open, and receptive. The more you honor these signals, the stronger they become. The more you override or ignore them, the cuter they may appear. The journey home. Many people begin their spiritual journey looking for answers outside themselves, through teachers, chaos, or belief systems. While these can be valuable guides, they are ultimately pointing you back inward. The real journey is not up a mountain or into another realm. It is inward toward the seat of your soul. You may wonder, can I really trust myself? What if I get it wrong? These are normal questions. But consider this. What if the truth has always been within you? Why? Ting for your attention? What if your deepest knowing is not something you earn but something you allow? Aligning with your higher self is a practice of permission, granting yourself the space to hear your soul and the courage to follow it. It is not about perfect. It is about presence, practical pathways to connection. To make this journey real and grounded, you can begin cultivating simple practices that invite your higher self forward. Morning presence. Upon waking, place your hand over your heart and ask, what does my higher self want me to know today? Body wisdom check-ins. Throughout the day, notice sensations in your body when you make choices. Expansion usually signals alignment. Contraction signals misalignment. Evening reflection. Before sleep, ask yourself, when did I feel most aligned today? When did I feel disconnected? These daily pauses begin to shift your awareness from surface-level activity to soul-level awareness. Over time, you will begin to recognize the voice of your higher self more clearly. Integrating soul consciousness. Living from soul consciousness doesn't mean you withdraw from life. On the contrary, it means you become more engaged, with greater clarity, purpose, and compassion. You may still go to work, care for children, pay bills, but you do so with a deeper sense of presence and alignment. This integration brings wholeness. You stop compartmentalizing the spiritual and the mundane. You begin to realize that every moment, every action, is an opportunity to live from your higher self. You are not here to escape your humanity. You are here to divinize it. To bring light to your thoughts, grace to you, our speech, and soul to your choices. This is the path of embodiment. And this is where your true power lies. Reflection prompts. What qualities or experiences have given me a glimpse of my higher self? Where in my life do I feel out of alignment or disconnected? How might my life shift if I trusted my inner wisdom more fully? Practice. Set aside 5 minutes each morning for a soul inquiry. Sit quietly, place your hand on your heart and ask, what does my higher self want to express today? Let whatever arises come without judgment. The path of alignment begins with attention. Let today be the day you begin to least. 2. Inner versus outer authority. Who are you listening to? The journey of aligning with your higher self inevitably brings you face to face with the question of authority. Why? Who gets to decide what is true for you? Is it the voice of your conditioning or the quiet knowing of your soul? Do you live by inherited beliefs, cultural expectations, or deep inner truth? From the moment we are born, we are shaped by external voices. Parents, teachers, peers, and systems tell us who to be, how to behave, what to value, and what success looks like. These voices are not inherently wrong, but they often overshadow our own. In the pursuit of acceptance, we learn to seek validation outside of ourselves. We trade soul knowing for social approval. But there comes a time, often triggered by crisis, confusion, or spiritual awakening, when we begin to hear another voice. It is quieter but more resonant. It speaks not in commands but in invitations. It doesn't clamor for attention. It waits patiently to be noticed. This is the voice of your higher self. The weight of conditioning. Conditioning is the subconscious program that governs much of our lives. It is built over time through repetition and reward. As children, we learn what is good or bad based on others' responses. We absorb family stories, social norms, and unspoken rules. Slowly, we internalize these as truths, even when they don't align with our deeper knowing. By adulthood, many of us have crafted entire identities based on these external frameworks. We become the achiever, the caretaker, the rebel, the perfectionist. And while these roles may bring a sense of order or belonging, they often disconnect us from our authenticity. Authenticity requires unlearning. It asks us to question what we've been told and to get curious about what feels true in our own bodies, hearts, and spirits. This can be uncomfortable. It may disrupt relationships, challenge long-held beliefs, or expose our fear of rejection. But it is through this discomfort that freedom is born. Crisis of authority. When you begin to reclaim inner authority, you may feel disoriented. Suddenly, the compass you've used no longer points north. Decisions that once seemed simple become complex. You may feel pulled between what others expect and what you're so. Elle is whispering. This tension is not a sign of failure. It is a sign of awakening. You are moving from unconscious reaction to conscious choice. You are no longer outsourcing your power. And while this can feel like losing your foundation, what you're really doing is be a truer one. Reclaiming inner authority doesn't mean you reject all external input. Wisdom can come through teachers, mentors, or community. But the key difference is that you no longer defer to them blindly. You filter every message through the lens of your soul. Discerning the inner voice. One of the biggest challenges in aligning with your higher self is distinguishing between the many voices inside you. There is the voice of fear, the voice of the wounded inner child, the voice of ego, and the voice of soul. Here are some ways to recognize the voice of your higher self. It speaks with clarity, not urgency. It invites rather than pressures. It feels expansive, and if it's challenging. It's rooted in love, not fear. It aligns with you, our values and integrity. The voice of fear often masquerades as logic. It says, be realistic, play it safe, or you'll never make it. It wants control. The voice of the higher self, in contrast, says, trust, let go, be VE. It wants alignment. To strengthen this discernment, start by paying attention. Notice your body's response to different decisions. Begin to track what inner voice you're following and what the outcome is. This builds awareness and gradually rest. Soul sovereignty. To live in soul sovereignty means that you no longer abandon yourself to please others. You stop shrinking to fit into boxes that were never meant for you. You take responsibility for your life, not from blame but from empowerment. This doesn't mean you always know what to do. Sovereignty is not certainty. It is the commitment to choose from alignment. It is the willingness to make mistakes in service of your truth. It is the courage to disappoint others rather than betray yourself. And here's the paradox. The more you honor your truth, the more you inspire others to do the same. Your authenticity becomes a lighthouse, not a weapon. Your boundaries become a mirror, not a wall. Easing the need for permission. One of the most liberating aspects of aligning with your higher self is realizing you no longer need permission. And to follow your inner guidance. You don't need everyone to understand or approve. Your soul's truth is not a debate. This doesn't mean you stop listening or become rigid. It means you become the final authority. You can receive counsel without giving away your center. You can honor others' perspectives without compromising your own. Ask yourself, where am I still waiting for someone to give me permission to live my truth? What am I postponing because I'm afraid of what others will think? Permission is an inside job. The moment you claim your authority, life begins to rearrange itself around your new frequency. Practices for inner authority. To reclaim your inner authority, see on site are these soul-centered practices. 1. Daily self-check. Ask yourself each morning, do I need to honor in myself today? 2. Voice journal. Write a dialogue between your ego and the higher self. Let each speak honestly. 3. Decision map. When facing a decision, list the reasons you want to choose each option. Highlight which ones come from fear and which from love. 4. Embodied inquiry. Before responding to a request or invitation, pause. Tune into your body. Notice whether your energy expands or contracts. These practices build the muscle of inner discernment. Over time, you'll begin to feel the difference between choices made from alignment and those made from expectation. Real-life reflections. Consider the story of Maya, a mid-level manager who had followed a traditional path of success. On the outside, everything looked great. A stable job, good income, respectable title. But inside she felt numb. Her days were filled with tasks that drained her. She kept hearing an inner voice saying, there's more, but she didn't know what to do with it. At first she ignored the voice. Then small signs started showing up. Books falling off shelves, conversations with strangers, dreams that lingered. Eventually she began to journal. She took silent walks. She asked her soul, what do you want me to know? The answers came slowly but clearly. She was meant to teach, to guide, to create spaces for healing. It didn't happen overnight, but Maya started shifting. She trained in coaching, offered workshops, and eventually transitioned into a soul-aligned career. She didn't wait for someone to validate her path. She gave herself permission. Her story is not unique. It is available to all of us. The path to sovereignty is paved with small acts of courage. Integration, becoming your own guru. Aligning with your higher self is not about finding a guru. It is about becoming your own. It is about trusting that you have the capacity to access divine wisdom within you. You are not broken. You are not lost. You are remembering. When you begin to live from inner authority, you stop asking, "What should I do?" and start asking, "What feels most true?" You stop chasing answers and start cultivating clarity. You stop performing and start embodying. This shift will ripple into every area of your life: relationships, work, creativity, health. You may let go of what no longer resonates. You may attract new people and opportunities. And you will most certainly come home to yours. The reflection prompts. Where in my life do I still seek approval over alignment? What beliefs or identities am I ready to question? What does inner authority feel like in my body? Practice. Choose one decision you've been avoiding or outsourcing. Sit with it in silence. Ask your higher self, what is the most loving choice here? Trust what rises. Your inner guidance is not a luxury, it is your compass. It is the foundation of your soul-led life. May this chapter be a mirror to your power and an invitation to rise. 3. The channel of connection, activating spiritual access. Imagine a radio playing softly in the background. The music is faint, distorted by static and occasionally interrupted. Now imagine adjusting the dial slowly, precisely, until suddenly the signal clears and the melody emerges. Pure, resonant, unmistakably beautiful. This is what connecting to your higher self often feels like. The frequency is always there, we just need to tune in. The higher self is not far away. It is not an elusive being in the clouds. It is a presence within you, always available, always loving, always wise. But the modern world is noisy, internally and externally, and most of us have not been taught how to quiet that noise to access the deeper wisdom available to us. In this chapter, we'll explore how to clear the static, tune into your spiritual frequency, and cultivate a daily connection with your soul. Understanding the channel. Spiritual access is not reserved for mystics or monks. Every human being has the capacity to access their higher self. The channel of connection runs through your entire being, your body, your breath, your nervous system, your heart. It's not just about thinking higher thoughts. It's about becoming an instrument tuned to divine guidance. When we speak of a channel, we are referring to the energetic, emotional, and mental pathways through which intuitive guidance, spiritual insight, and soul wisdom flow. Just as a musical instrument requires tuning, your spiritual channel benefits from care, attention, and intentional clearing. Your channel can become clouded by stress, trauma, disconnection, over-identification with ego, or simply the overwhelm of daily life. But with presence and practice, it can be reopened and refined. Signs of a clear channel. How do you know when your spiritual channel is clear and open? Here are some indicators. You feel calmed, you're grounded and centered. Intuitive insights arise naturally, often unprompted. You experience synchronicities and signs that feel meaningful. Your body feels relaxed and energized rather tense and drained. You act with clarity and conviction even when outcomes are uncertain. These are not just pleasant side effects. They are evidence that your inner and outer worlds are becoming aligned. Clearing the static. To clear the channel, we begin by noticing what blocks it. The static might be mental chatter, emotional overwhelm, tension in the body, or energetic residue. From past experiences. Rather than judge yourself for these blockages, approach them with curiosity and compassion. Some common sources of static include chronic stress and busyness, overconsumption of media or technology, unprocessed emotions, self-doubt and overthinking, lack of grounding or embodiment. You do not need to eliminate all noise to connect with your higher self. You only need to create enough space in yourself to receive. Anchoring through the body. The body is your most reliable spiritual instrument. It holds wisdom, memory, intuition, and energy. While spiritual practices often focus on transcending the body, true alignment includes descending into it, feeling, sensing, and honoring it as a sacred vessel. Here are ways to anchor your connection through the body. 1. Grounding. Place your bare feet on the earth. Visualize roots extending from your feet deep into the ground. Breathe into your legs and pelvis, calling your energy downward. 2. Breath awareness. Focus on the rhythm of your breath. Inhale slowly, pause, exhale fully. Let each breath soften your stages and center your awareness. 3. Body scanning. Move your awareness through your body from crown to toes. Notice sensations, tensions, or shifts. Ask your body what it may. Yes, and listen without judgment. The more embodied you are, the more receptive you become to spiritual insight. The higher self does not just speak through the mind. It communicates through sensa, tie-in, feeling, and intuition. Cultivating receptivity. Receptivity is a sacred art. It requires softness, openness, and trust. In a culture that celebrates doing and productivity, this can feel counterintuitive. But spiritual connection is not achieved through effort. It is received through surrender. To cultivate receptivity, create quiet space in your day. Even 5 minutes of stillness can shift your energy. Practice listening more than speaking, both with others and within yourself. Engage in activities that open you. Our heart, music, nature, art, prayer. Let go of the need for immediate answers. Trust that what you need to know will arise in divine timing. Creating a spiritual access practice. A consistent spiritual practice doesn't need to be elaborate. What matters is intention and presence. Here's a simple yet potent practice you can adapt. 1. Set the space. Light a candle, burn incense, or play soft music. Signal to yourself that this is sacred time. 2. Center yourself. Sit comfortably, close your eyes, and take a few deep breaths. 3. Connect. Place your hands on your heart and say aloud or silently, I invite my higher self to guide me now. 4. Listen, stay in silence. Notice sensations, thoughts, images, or feelings. Trust what arises. 5. Reflect. Journal any messages, questions, or impressions that came through. 6. Close. Thank your higher self. Blow out the candle or say a closing prayer to seal the spa. Doing this consistently, daily if possible, trains your awareness and strengthens your connection. Navigating resistance is part of the journey. You may feel restless, skeptical, or impatient. You may wonder if you're doing it right. These thoughts are natural. Meet them with compass. The ego is wired to maintain control. It fears the unknown. But the soul thrives in the mystery. When resistance arises, gently affirm, it is safe for me to listen. I trust what I feel. Some ways to soften resistance. Approach your practice with curiosity rather than expectation. Celebrate small shifts or subtle messages. Remind yourself that spiritual connection is your natural state. You are not trying to become something you are not. You are bearing. Opening the channel in daily life. You don't need to be on a meditation cushion to access higher self. Connection can happen while washing dishes, walking your dog, sitting in traffic. Intention. Here are ways to infuse your daily life with spiritual presence. Begin your day with an intention. Today I will walk with my higher self. Use transitions, entering a room, starting a task, as moments to pause and reconnect. Ask your higher self simple questions. What do I need to know about a situation? End your day with gratitude. Thank you for guiding me today. I trust in tomorrow. Over time, these micro moments create macro shifts. You begin to live not from habit, from harmony. Real life story. Elijah's awakening. Elijah was a graphic designer who felt burned out and disconnected. Despite outward success, he carried a persistent sense that something was missing. A friend suggested meditation, but Elijah found it hard to sit still. His mind raced and he quickly gave up. One day while on a solo hike, Elijah stopped by a stream and he sat on a rock. Without trying to meditate, he simply watched the water flow. His breath slowed. A deep peace washed over him. In that moment he felt something shift. A question bubbled up from within. What if I'm meant to create beauty that heals? He didn't dismiss it. He followed it. Elijah began creating art that expressed his inner world. He integrated spiritual imagery, symbols, and affirmations. Soon heirs began to notice. He started selling prints and offering workshops. His life didn't just change externally, it deepened internally. He had found his channel. Your connection may not look like Elijah's, but the principle is universal. When you slow down and listen, your soul speaks. Integration. Living with an open channel. Spiritual connection is not a destination. It is a relationship. Like any relationship, it requires attention, trust, and communication. Your higher self is not separate from you. It is you in your most aligned form. The channel between you and your soul is always available. Your task is not to force it open but to clear the space and receive. The more you show up, the more it will reveal. Begin where you are. Let today be the day you turn the dial, clear the static, and welcome the wisdom waiting to flow through you. Reflection prompts. What blocks or distracts me from connecting with my higher self? When do I feel most spiritually attuned? How might I create more space for connection in my daily life? Practice. Create a 7D. A spiritual access ritual. Choose a time and space to sit in quiet connection for 10 minutes each day. Journal what arises and how you feel before and after. Notice the shifts. Your soul is already SP. Are you listening? For guidance through. Gauge feeling, emotion as compass. What if your feelings were not a problem to solve but a compass to follow? We live in a culture that privileges intellect, logic, and rational decision-making. From an early age, we are taught to suppress emotions, label them as good or bad, and distrust our feelings as unreliable. And yet, one of the most powerful and direct channels to your higher self is through emotion. Feelings are not random. They are finely tuned signals, encoded with information about your alignment, boundaries, needs, and inner truth. When we learn to listen to them without judgment, they become profound guides on our path of soul-aligned living. In this chapter, we explore how to move from emotional repression to emotional wisdom, how to honor your feelings not as distractions but as directional cues from your soul. The language of the soul. Your soul doesn't always speak in words. It often speaks in sensation, vibration, and feeling. When you feel a wave of peace after making a certain decision, that's your higher self saying yes. When you feel dread or contraction before committing to something, that's your higher self raising a flag. Unfortunately, we've been conditioned to override these signals. We go along with it's expected even when it feels wrong. We rationalize staying in relationships or jobs that drain us. We silence our intuition to avoid conflict or discomfort. Over time, this disconnect leads to confusion, burnout, and soul fatigue. But here's the truth. Emotion is energy in motion. It moves through you to get your attention. When honored and explored, even difficult emotions become doorways to clarity. Differentiating emotional truth from emotional reactivity. Not all emotions are direct transmissions from the higher self. Some arise from past wounds, trauma, or conditioning. These are important too. They show us where healing is needed, but they are not always malleable guides for present moment decisions. So how do we tell the difference? Emotional reactivity often feels charged or overwhelming, rapid and rooted in fear, scarcity, or past stories, tied to proving, protecting, or avoiding. Emotional truth feels grounded and calm even when intense, clear and resonant, connected to love, boundary, or purpose, aligned with your deeper values. To discern this difference, you need time and space. The knee-jerk decisions rarely come from soul. When emotions arise, pause, breathe, get curious, ask, is S emotion from my higher self or from my pain? Making emotion safe again. For many people, the biggest challenge isn't recognizing emotion. It's feeling safe enough to feel it. If you grew up in an environment where emotions were dismissed, punished, or ignored, your nervous system may associate emotion with danger. Reclaiming your emotional compass means gently reconditioning your body to see emotion as safe, sacred, and sovereign. This doesn't mean wallowing. It means allowing. Here are simple ways to make emotion safe again. Name the emotion without labeling it as good or bad. Breathe with it instead of resisting it. Place your hand on your heart and say, It's okay to feel this. Ask the emotion, what are you here to teach me? Your body is a barometer. Your body is a brilliant barometer for emotion. When something is aligned, your body opens. When something is misaligned, it contracts. This is often the first and clearest signal your higher self sends. Signs of alignment. Deep breath or sigh of relief. Feeling grounded, relaxed, or at ease. Subtle tingling, lightness or energy flow. Sense of curiosity, joy, or inspiration. Signs of misalignment. Shallow breath or tight chest. Stomach tension or knots. Numbness, fatigue, or disconnection. Feeling anxious, resistant, or heavy. Use these physical cues as guides. When facing a decision, don't just think about it, feel into it. Ask, what happens in my body when I imagine this path? Emotional intelligence as spiritual intelligence. Emotional intelligence is not just psychological, it's spiritual. When you can name, feel, and respond to your emotions with presence and wisdom, you are in direct communication with your soul. This doesn't mean you never feel anger, sadness, or fear. It means you stop judging yourself for feeling them. You learn to sit with emotion long enough to receive its message, then move forward with greater clarity. Imagine if, instead of suppressing anger, you asked, what boundary needs to be set? Instead of numbing grief, you asked, what am I being invited to release? Instead of avoiding fear, you asked, what truth am I being asked to face with courage? Every emotion becomes an oracle when approached with presence. Practices for emotional guidance. 1. Feel to reveal. When an emotion arises, don't analyze it right away. Sit quietly and allow yourself to feel it fully in your body. Notice where it lives. Breathe into that space. 2. Emotion mapping. Keep a journal where you note what you're feeling each day, what triggered it, and what insight it offered. Over time, you'll begin to recognize patterns. 3. Body compass check-in. Before making a decision, pause and scan your body. Ask, what happens inside me when I imagine saying yes? What happens when I imagine saying no? For soul inquiry, ask your higher self, what truth is this emotion revealing? What am I being called to see, release, or choose? Real life story. Kira's awakening through emotion. Kira was a mother of 2, working full-time in a corporate job she no longer loved. She often felt tired, irritable, and guilty for not being more grateful. Every time she considered making a change, she talked herself out of it, until she broke down crying during a meeting. At first she was ashamed, but something inside told her not to suppress it this time. That night she sat on her bedroom floor and allowed herself to weep. In the stillness that followed, she heard a clear inner voice. You've been sacrificing yourself for safety. It's time to come home. Kira didn't quit her job the next day, but she started therapy, took art classes, and explored career coaching. Within a year, she transitioned into a new role that aligned with her values and allowed her more time with her family. It started with one honest emotion. Emotions are not obstacles. They are invitations. What might open for you if you trusted what you feel? Integration. Embracing emotion as sacred. When you begin to relate to emotion as sacred guidance, you stop fearing your inner world. You develop compassion for your own humanity. And you learn to walk through life with both sensitivity and strength. Your feelings are not flaws. They are frequencies. They carry data, direction, and divine intelligence. They are not the whole truth, but they always point toward truth. In a society that teaches us to numb, override, and intellectualize, choosing to feel is a radical act of soul remembrance. And it is one of the most powerful ways to stay aligned with your higher self. Let yourself feel. Let yourself know. Let yourself be guided. Reflection prompts. What is my current relationship with my emotions? Which emotions do I trust? Which do I suppress? What recent emotion offered me unexpected wisdom? Practice. Choose one recurring emotion this week and treat it as a teacher. Each time it arises, pause and ask, what are you trying to show me? Write down the insights that come. Feelings are not weakness. They are portals to soul alignment. 5. Choosing from soul. Decision-making with depth. Every day you are faced with choices, big and small. What to say, where to go, how to respond, what to believe. In modern life, decision-making is often approached from the head. Logic, analysis, pros and cons. But your soul offers a different compass. one that prioritizes truth over comfort, resonance over reason, and alignment over approval. To choose from soul is to trust your inner guidance even when it defies external logic. It is to honor the deep knowing that lives within your body, heart, and spirit. And it is to cultivate a practice of listening, not just to what you want but to what you are being called toward. In this chapter we'll explore how to discern true guidance, move through fear, and make decisions that align with your deepest self. The nature of soul guidance. Your higher self is not interested in quick fixes or surface-level success. It's here to lead you into integrity, wholeness, and fulfillment. The guidance it offers is not always easy, but it is always true. Soul guidance often arises as a persistent inner nudge, a vision or idea that won't go away, a physical feeling of yes or no, an emotional response of peace or discomfort, a synchronicity or sign that confirms a direction. Unlike the ego, which speaks loudly and quickly, the soul speaks in whispers. It nudges rather than pushes. It doesn't force, but it does persist. To choose from soul, you must first get quiet enough to hear it. The pause, making space for soul. In a culture obsessed with speed and productivity, pausing can feel counterintuitive. But soul decisions are born in stillness. They require space, breath, and reflection. Before any major decision, ask yourself, have I taken time to breathe and ground? Am I reacting from fear or responding from presence? What does my body feel when I sit with this option? If I weren't afraid, what would I choose? Create space by stepping away from the situation, journaling, or spending time in nature. Invite your higher self into the conversation by asking, what path brings me closer to truth, growth, and love? Choosing from expansion, not contraction. One of the simplest ways to discern soul guidance is to notice whether a choice brings expansion or contraction. Expansion feels like ease, possibility, excitement, or peace. Contraction feels like tension, dread, or resistance. This doesn't mean the right choice will always feel comfortable. Often, your soul will lead you to take risks, stretch into vulnerability, or confront old patterns. But even in discomfort, you'll sense a deeper yes. Ask, does this choice feel like growth even if it's scary? Or does it feel like safety at the cost of truth? Navigating fear and doubt. Fear is not the enemy. It is a natural part of transformation. But when fear makes your decisions, it pulls you away from alignment. To choose from soul, you must learn to distinguish between intuitive caution and egoic faith. Intuitive caution is grounded and specific. Something doesn't feel right about this person. Egoic fear is vague and pervasive. You'll fail. You're not ready. You're not enough. When fear arises, name it. This is fear of rejection. Thank it for trying to protect you. Ask your higher self, what's the deeper truth he? Choose in alignment with that truth even if fear remains. Soul choices often require courage. But courage doesn't mean the absence of fear. It means moving forward with faith in your great Anne. Practicing soul-led decision-making. Like any skill, choosing from soul becomes easier with practice. Start with small decisions. What to eat, what to wear, how to spend your afternoon. Tune in. Ask, what feels most aligned? Then move to bigger choices. Relationships, work, health, purpose. Begin to see your life as a living dialogue with why. Our soul. 1. The soul pause, stop, breathe. Ask, what does my higher self say? 2. The feeling test, tune into your body. Where is there openness? Where is there tightness? 3. The future self check. Imagine yourself in 5 years. Which choice will you thank yourself for? 4. The journal inquiry, write, if I fully trusted myself I would, and let the words flow. Real life story, Jordan's leap. Jordan had worked in finance for over a decade. The job paid well, but each morning felt like a silent scream. He kept dreaming about starting a wellness retreat center, a vision that had followed high for years. His mind gave him every reason not to do it. You'll lose everything. You don't know enough. People will judge you. But the vision, wow. I didn't leave. One day, after a particularly soul-draining meeting, Jordan walked out, sat in his car, and wept. In that moment, he made a decision. Not to quit immediately but to art planning. He saved money, took courses, visited potential locations. 2 years later he opened his retreat center. It wasn't easy, but it was aligned. And that made all the difference. Jordan's story isn't about quitting your job. It's about honoring the truth that won't go away. That's soul. What happens when you don't listen? Ignoring your soul doesn't make it go away. It makes it louder. Discontent, anxiety, and frustration are often symptoms of ignored intuition. You may end up repeating cycles, attracting misaligned experiences, or feeling stuck. This is not punishment, it's redirection. Your soul will continue to invite you home. Until you listen. There is no shame in delayed listening. Sometimes we need time to build capacity. But the longer we delay, the more energy it takes to maintain the misalignment. Alignment. T is a way of life. Choosing from soul isn't just about the big decisions. It's a way of being. It's how you speak, relate, work, rest, and create. It's the difference between living by default and living by design. When you live from soul, your yes is wholehearted. Your no is seal. Ear and compassionate. Your energy becomes magnetic. Your presence becomes a transmission. This is the path of embodiment. And every choice is a chance to come closer to yourself. Reflection prompts. Where in my life am I making choices from fear rather than truth? What decision have I been avoiding, and what does my higher self say about it? What does expands bond feel like in my body? Practice. Choose one decision, big or small, and run it through the soul decision framework. Pause. Feel. Journal the experience and notice how it feels. Is to choose from soul. You are not here to follow the safest path. You are here to follow the truest one. And your higher self already knows the way. 6. Practices for alignment, meditation, breath, and prayer. Spiritual alignment is not something you stumble into by accident. It is a state you intentionally cultivate. While your higher self is always available, your ability to receive its guidance and embody its wisdom depends largely on how you tend your inner space. Just as a musician tunes their instrument before a performance, you too must tune your inner landscape so that soul dance can flow with clarity. Practices such as meditation, breathwork, and prayer serve as bridges between your everyday self and your divine essence. They are not just rituals, they are invitations to presence, power, and peace. When practiced with consistency and reverence, they anchor you in your soul's frequency and help you navigate life from your deepest truth. This chapter offers foundational practices for aligning with your higher self, not as rigid formulas but as living, breathing tools you can adapt to your own rhythm and path. The purpose of practice. Spiritual practice is less about effort and more about attention. You're not trying to become spiritual. You are remembering your innate divinity. Practices help you peel back the layers of distraction and reconnect with what has always been true. Many people approach practice from a place of performance. I must meditate perfectly, or I have to feel something. But true practice is not about perfection, it's about presence. Even 5 minutes of intentional stillness can shift your entire day. Even one conscious breath can bring you back to center. The aim is not to escape life but to enter it more fully, from the clarity, calm, and compassion of your higher self. Meditation. Returning to the center. Meditation is a doorway to inner stillness. It's where the noise quiets and the voice of your soul becomes audible. It doesn't have to be long or complex. What matters most is your willingness to sit, breathe, and listen. Benefits of meditation. Calms the nervous system. Clears mental clutter. Heightens self-awareness. Deepens intuitive sensitivity. Connects you with inner guidance. Simple soul-centered meditation practice. 1. Find a quiet space and sit comfortably. 2. Close your eyes and place your hands on your heart. 3. Take a few deep breaths, inhaling through your nose, exhaling through your mouth. 4. Silently ask, higher self, what would you have me know today? 5. Sit in silence, allowing any sensations, images, or words to arise. 6. After 5 to 10 minutes, open your eyes and journal anything that came through. There's no wrong way to meditate. If your mind wanders, gently bring it back. Think of it as training a wild horse with love and patience. Over time, stillness becomes your sanctuary. Breathwork, the soul's gateway. Your breath is the most immediate and powerful tool for alignment. It is always with you, always available, and intimately connected to your emotional and energetic states. By consciously working with your breath, you can shift from anxiety to calm, from disconnection to presage. Types of breath work. Grounding breath. Inhale for 4 counts, hold for 4, exhale for 6. Repeat for 3 to 5 minutes. Cleansing breath. Inhale deeply through the nose, exhale with a sigh. Repeat to release tension. Heart-centered breath. Inhale into the heart space while visualizing light. Exhale and imagine sending that light throughout your body. Practice breath awareness during transitions. Before meetings, after phone calls, when feeling overwhelmed. Even 1 minute can recalibrate your energy. Prayer. Inviting the sacred in. Prayer is not just asking, it's communing. It is a dialogue with the divine aspect of yourself in the universe. It doesn't require formality or specific language. Your higher self hears every whisper, every longing, every tear. Approaches to soul-centered prayer. Gratitude prayer. Thank you for the wisdom already within me. I choose to trust and follow it. Surrender prayer. I release control. Higher self, guide my words, my choices, my energy. Clarification prayer. Illuminate the path ahead. Help me see what is most true and loving. Speak from the heart. Speak aloud or write it down. The more you pray from authenticity, the more real your connection becomes. Creating a practice rhythm. While spiritual discipline is helpful, rigidity can become another form of control. Your practices should feel alive and nourishing, not like obligations. The key is consistency infused with flexibility. Tips for sustainable practice. Start small. Begin with 5 minutes a day and grow from there. Stack habits. Attach your practice to something you already do, e.g. after brushing our teeth. Create sacred space. Designate a corner or altar that reminds you of you. Our intention. Track your shifts. Journal how you feel before and after each practice. Your practice is not about changing who you are. It's about remembering who you are. Let it be a loving return. Real life story. Ava's return to stillness. Ava was a busy therapist and mother of 3. Her days were filled with serving others, but she often felt depleted and disconnected from her own center. Meditation sounded lovely in theory, but in practice it felt impossible. One evening she lit a candle and sat on her bedroom floor. For 5 minutes she did nothing but breathe. Her mind wandered, but something softened. She returned the next night. And again. Over time those 5 minutes became her lifeline. Ava didn't become a monk. She didn't abandon her responsibilities. But she began to carry stillness with her into her day. Her sessions deepened. Her parenting softened. Her creativity returned. This is the power of practice. It doesn't just change how you feel. It changes how you live. Integration. Makingly. Your practice. Ultimately, alignment is not about what you do for 10 minutes in the morning. It's about how you show up in every moment. Your entire life can become a living meditation, a walking prayer, a breath of devotion. Practice when you speak, with kindness. Practice when you walk, with presence. Practice when you be with gratitude. Let each moment invite you into deeper connection. Let each breath be an offering. You don't need more time to be aligned. You need more intention. Reflection prompts. Which practice, meditation, breath, or prayer, most resonates with me? What blocks or resistance do I feel around spiritual discipline? How can I weave soul alignment into my daily routines? Practice. Choose one core practice to commit to for the next 7 days. Set a timer, create your space, and journal each day about what shifts. Let it be simple, consistent, and sacred. Your breath is the bridge. Your stillness is the portal. Your practice is the pathway. Return again. And again. 7. Self-trust is spiritual practice, strengthening your channel. Self-trust is not a luxury on the spiritual path. It is a necessity. It is the foundation of every intuitive decision, every courageous leap, and every act of authenticity. Without self-trust, even the clearest soul guidance may be drowned out by doubt, fear, or external influence. To align with your higher self, you must trust your capacity to hear it and respond. Self-trust is not about having all the answers. It is about choosing to believe in your inner wisdom even when the path is uncertain. It is about honoring your experiences, your feelings, and your knowing. In this chapter, we will explore how to rebuild and strengthen your self-trust, overcome the inner saboteur, and step into a more empowered, soul-led life. What is self-trust? Self-trust is the ability to rely on your own inner guidance, make choices that honor your truth, and stand by yourself through success and failure alike. It means listening to your body's signals and intuitive hits, honoring your emotions without shame or dismissal, making decisions that align with your values, even when others disagree, showing up for yourself consistently. When self-trust is strong, your energy becomes rooted. You stop needing constant validation. You stop outsourcing authority. You become the safe place you've been seeking. Why we lose trust in ourselves. Most of us are not taught to trust ourselves. Instead, we are conditioned to defer to others. Parents, teachers, religious leaders, societal norms. We are praised for our compliance, not intuition. We begin to BT our inner knowing because we were punished or dismissed when we spoke our truth. Our emotions were led too much, or not valid. We were taught that authority always lies outside of us. We made choices that failed and internalized blame. Over time, these experiences erode self-trust. But the good news is that self-trust can be rebuilt. Like a muscle, it strengthens with use. The anatomy of inner saboteurs. Inner saboteurs are the voices within that undermine your confidence. They often take the form of the inner critic, the perfectionist, or the doubter. These voices are not evil, they are protective. But their protection comes at a cost. Examples of inner saboteur scripts. What if I'm wrong? I need to be sure before I act. They'll think I'm selfish. Who am I to do this? These voices arise when you're on the edge of growth. Instead of fighting them, thank them. Then return to your soul's voice, the one that says, you are ready. You are wise. You are enough. Practices to cultivate self-trust. 1. Intuition log. Each day, write down one intuitive nudge you received and whether you followed it. Over time, this builds evidence of your accuracy and core. 2. Body truth scan. Sit quietly and tune into your body. Ask, what do I need right now? Practice honoring what arises without judgment. 3. Mirror affirmation. Look into your eyes and say, I trust myself. I honor my inner voice. Repeat daily until it feels real. 4. Post-decision reflection. After making a choice, reflect on how it felt. Did it bring peace or tension? This helps you calibrate your internal compass. The role of consistency. Trust is not built in a moment. It's built in moments. Every time you listen to your body, speak your truth, or set a boundary, you deepen self-trust. It is not about being perfect. It's about showing up. Make a commitment to be consistent, not extreme. One small, self-honoring act each day is more powerful than grand but unsustainable gestures. Real-life story. Nadia's inner voice. Nadia was at a crossroads. She had been offered a promotion that promised more money but would require sacrificing her time. Everyone told her to take it. But something in her body said no. She sat with her journal and wrote, what does my higher self want? The answer came as a clear, quiet no. With trembling hands she declined the offer. A few months later, an unexpected opportunity arose that allowed her to teach workshops and use her creative gifts while earning more than the promotion offered. Trusting herself created space for alignment. Her story is not about getting what you want. It's about honoring what is true and trusting that life will heal there. When self-trust feels fragile, there will be days when doubt creeps in. When you question past choices or fear future ones. This is normal. The goal is not to eliminate doubt but to deepen presence. In these moments, return to your breath. Revisit your journal. Talk to a trusted friend who are ill. X your light. Ground yourself in what you do know. You are not failing. You are growing. And growth is inherently messy. Integration. Making self-trust a daily devotion. Let self-trust become your spiritual practice. Let it guide your rituals, your relationships, your war. And your rest. Each morning ask, how can I trust myself today? Each evening ask, where did I honor or abandon myself today? Track your evolution with love, not judgment. Celebrate every moment you chose presence over people-pleasing, truth over comfort, alignment over approval. You do not need to be fearless. You only need to be faithful. To your soul. Reflection prompts. When have I ignored my inner guidance, and what did I learn? What does trusting myself look and feel like? What small act of UST can I take today? Practice. Keep a self-trust journal for 7 days. Each day note one choice you made from alignment and how it felt. Watch our confidence grow. 8. Releasing the ego grip. Surrendering control. To align with your higher self is to step into the unknown again and again. And in doing so, you inevitably come face to face with the part of you that resists uncertainty. The ego. The ego is not bad or wrong. It is simply concerned with survival, safety, and identity. But the very mechanisms that once protected you can, over time, become cages. The ego clings to control because it tests control with safety. Yet spiritual growth demands surrender. It asks us to release our grip, soften our stance, and trust a deeper current. This chapter explores what it means to release the ego's control and allow your soul to lead, not as a rejection of the ego but as a rebalancing. When the soul takes the lead, the ego can relax into its proper role, not as master but as servant. To your highest truth. Understanding the ego's role. The ego is the part of you that navigates the world of form. It builds your personality, shapes your preferences, and creates the narrative of me. It helps you meet deadlines, maintain routines, and remember where you parked your car. But the ego's scope is limited. It sees through the lens of separate ion, competition, and fear. When the ego leads, life becomes about proving, controlling, and defending. It fears vulnerability because vulnerability threatens the identity it has built. It fears change because change feels like death to what it knows. Yet beneath this fear lies a longing, to rest, to trust, to be free. The soul doesn't want to destroy the ego. It wants to love it into integration. The illusion of control. One of the ego's primary tools is control. It believes that by managing outcomes, avoiding risk, and staying in the known, it can keep you safe. But true safety doesn't come from control, it comes from alignment. Control often manifests as overthinking, perfectionism, rigidity, micromanagement, or anxiety. It is the voice that says, if I plan enough, I won't be disappointed. If I'm perfect, I'll never be rejected. If I do everything myself, nothing will fall apart. But control is exhausting. It narrows your world, keeps you from the flow of grace. Surrender, on the other hand, is not about passivity or resignation. It is the courageous act of releasing your attachment to outcomes and trusting the intelligence of life. It is saying, I don't know what's next, but I trust myself to meet it. The journey of surrender. Surrender is not a one-time event. It is a daily practice. It is the gentle release of tension in your body, the letting go of needing to be right, the willingness to feel without fixing. Sometimes surrender is dramatic, a moment of breakdown that becomes breakthrough. Other times, it is subtle, choosing rest instead of productivity, asking for help instead of doing it all. Forgiving instead of holding on. Each act of surrender is a declaration of trust. Trust in your higher self, trust in life's unfolding, and trust in your ability to navigate what comes. You're operating from ego control. If you find yourself constantly anxious, trying to plan every detail, or obsessively seeking certainty, you may be in the grip of the ego. Here are a few more signs. You may notice yourself over-explaining or justifying your actions to gain approval or avoid conflict. The ego seeks validation to affirm its worth, and it often fears being misunderstood. You might also find yourself resisting change, even when the current path no longer feels right. This resistance is the ego's way of maintaining control over familiar territory. Another sign is emotional reactivity, especially when things don't go as planned. You may feel a strong need to blame others or withdraw entirely. These are defense mechanisms that the ego uses to avoid discomfort and maintain control. Recognizing these patterns is not a call to shame. It is a call to awareness, a chance to choose differently. Practices to release the ego grip. Breath of surrender. One of the most powerful ways to soften the ego's grip is through the breath. Sit quietly and take a deep breath in. As you exhale, imagine releasing tension from your body. Say silently, I let go. Repeat for several minutes, focusing on the exhale. Let each breath be a practice of release. Surrender journal. Each evening, write down 3 things you tried to control that day and how it felt. Then write 3 things you surrendered and what arose instead. This practice helps you see the benefits of letting go and builds your trust in the process. Mantra repetition. Mantras can rewire the nervous system and calm the ego's fear. Choose one such as, I trust the unfolding, I release what I cannot control, or my soul is leading me. Repeat it aloud or silently throughout the day. Symbolic release ritual. Write down a situation you're trying to control on a piece of paper. Light a candle and offer the paper to a bowl of water, letting the ink dissolve, or safely burn it and scatter the ashes. As you do, affirm, I release this to a higher wisdom. Real-life story. Caleb's release. Caleb was a small business owner who prided himself on doing everything right. He followed every productivity hack, planned his weeks down to the minute, and resisted any deviation from his schedule. He believed control was the key to success. But inside he was anxious, tired, and increasingly disconnected from his creativity. When a project fell through unexpectedly, he spiraled into panic. A friend encouraged him to try a surrender day, a full day without planning, allowing the day to guide him. At first it felt unbearable. But as the hours passed, Caleb began to relax. He walked by the ocean, journaled, and even had an impromptu conversation with a stranger that led to a new opportunity. This experience didn't make him abandon structure, but it taught him that surrender invites serendipity. He learned to weave moments of openness into his weeks, and in doing so found deeper peace and more aligned success. When letting go feels impossible, some attachments feel too deep to release. The ego will whisper, you need this. Without it, you'll be nothing. Whether it's a job, a relationship, an identity, or a long-held belief, letting go can feel like death. In these moments, remember, surrender doesn't always mean walking away. It means loosening your grip. It means being willing to see with new eyes. Ask yourself, what am I afraid will happen if I let go? Then meet that fear with compassion. You may find that what you fear is a loss of control, but what awaits is liberation. Integration. Living the practice of surrender. To live in surrender is to live in trust. It is to let go of timelines, embrace the unknown, and allow your higher self to guide each step. Begin your day with a question, not a plan. What does my soul want to experience today? End your day with gratitude even for what you did not control. Thank you for what unfolded, even if I didn't understand it. Surrender does not make you passive. It makes you powerful, because it aligns you with the greater intelligence of life. Reflection prompts. What am I currently trying to control, and what would it feel like to release it? Where in my life am I being invited to trust more deeply? What has surrender taught me in the past? Practice. Choose one area of your life to practice surrender this week. Each day ask, what can I release today to create more space for trust? Journal your discoveries and notice the shifts. The soul doesn't shout. It flows. The ego grips. The soul opens. Let go and be led. 9. Soul-led goals, creating from authenticity. True goals are not born from pressure or proving. They arise from your essence, your soul's deep desire to express, create, contribute, and expand. When you set goals through the lens of the higher self, you move beyond checklist living and step into a life shaped by resonance, meaning, and alignment. These are not just accomplishments to check off. They are living expressions of who you are becoming. In this chapter, we explore what it means to set soul-led goals, how to distinguish them from ego-driven ambitions, and how to co-create a life rooted in authenticity, not approval. Redefining success. Many of us were raised to define success externally. Achievements, money, titles, productivity, or social status were framed as indicators of a life well lived. Yet when we arrive at those external milestones, we often feel strangely empty. Why? Because the soul craves depth, not just achievement. Redefining success begins with asking, what matters to me truly? Soul-led success feels fulfilling, expansive, and often quiet. It honors how you want to feel, who you want to become, and the legacy you wish to leave. It's less about performance and more about purpose. A soul-led goal might be creating a morning practice that nourishes your spirit. It might be launching a heart-centered business, learning to speak your truth in relationships, or spending more time with your children without distraction. The difference is not in the size of the goal. but in the energy behind it. Recognizing ego-driven goals. Ego-driven goals often come from the desire to earn worth, gain validation, or avoid discomfort. They tend to sound like, I need to achieve this to be respected. If I don't do this, I'll fall behind. Once I accomplish this, I'll finally feel enough. These goals are frequently tied to timelines, competition, or comparison. They may push you to hustle or chase, but they rarely bring peace. Instead, they reinforce the illusion that your value lies in what you do rather than who you are. When you pursue ego-based goals, you often override your body's signals and your heart's whispers. You force outcomes, ignore fatigue, and sacrifice presence in the name of productivity. The cost is high: burnout, anxiety, and disconnection. To spot an ego-driven goal, ask, if no one else knew about this, would it still matter to me? If the answer is no, it may not be rooted in your soul. The anatomy of a soul-led goal. Soul-led goals come from within. They are less about what you think you should do and more about what you feel called to create or embody. They often begin as a quiet curiosity, a longing, or a recurring dream. These goals tend to emerge in stillness, not in reaction. They are aligned with your values, your truth, and your joy. They challenge you, but they also nourish you. A soul-led goal might stretch you beyond your comfort zone, but it won't violate your integrity. You may feel fear, but underneath it you'll find resonance. These goals respect your timing. They unfold in seasons. They don't rush you, they invite you. Listening for the call. Your soul will often nudge you toward your next goal through subtle signals. You may feel a persistent curiosity about something you've never tried before. You might experience an inner ache when you witness someone else doing something you secretly long to do. You may find synchronicities appearing around a theme, or repeated dreams pulling you in a specific direction. Your body may feel energized when you speak about it, even if your mind feels unsure. Instead of asking, what should I do next? Try asking, what is my soul inviting me into? Let your body's sensations, emotional cues, and intuitive whispers become your compass. Creating soul-aligned goals. Start with feeling. Ask yourself, how do I want to feel in my life? Not just when you reach the goal, but during the process. Choose goals that are rooted in values like peace, freedom, creativity, or connection. Clarify your why. Explore the deeper reason behind your goal. If your desire is to write a book, ask, why does this matter to me? Who might it serve? What part of me is asking to be expressed? Let this purpose anchor you when doubts arise. Check for resonance. Sit with your goal in stillness. Speak it aloud. Notice your body's response. Do you feel expansion or contraction? Excitement or dread? Your nervous system knows what is aligned. Let it evolve. Soul goals are living. Allow them to shift, deepen, or dissolve. You are not failing if a goal changes. You are responding to a deeper truth. Practices to activate soul goals. Soul visioning practice. Close your eyes and visualize yourself 1 year from now, fully aligned with your higher self. Where are you? What are you doing? How do you feel? What has changed in your daily life? Let this vision guide your next steps. Write it down and return to it often. Embodied goal mapping. Instead of starting with deadlines, start with desired feelings. On one side of a page, list how you want to feel each day, e.g., vibrant, connected, inspired. On the other side, list actions or intentions that would cultivate those feelings. This becomes your roadmap. Ritual of declaration. Create a sacred space. Light a candle. Speak your goal aloud as a declaration. I am ready to create. I open to becoming. I invite the path of. Feel the words as truth, not just intention. This ritual strengthens commitment and magnetizes support. Aligned action. Every week, take one small step toward your goal. Not because you must, but because it honors your truth. Keep a weekly journal reflecting on how these actions feel in your body and spirit. Real-life story. Layla's purpose path. Layla had always felt a pull toward healing work, but she dismissed it as impractical. She pursued a corporate career, earned accolades, and hit all the traditional markers of success. Yet she felt empty. One night, after a long day of meetings, she wept. Not from sadness, but from the ache of unexpressed calling. She enrolled in a part-time holistic coaching program. Every class lit her up. Her soul began to stir. It took 2 years for Layla to transition fully. but she did it step by step. She began offering sessions to friends. She built a practice while still employed. Today she runs a thriving practice, and more importantly, she feels alive. Layla's story reminds us that soul goals aren't always grand leaps. Sometimes they are whispers followed faithfully until they become roars. Integration. Living in soul alignment. Let your goals become prayers with legs. Let them reflect not what you want to prove, but what you want to embody. Each goal is an altar, a place where your humanity and divinity meet. Choose goals that call you deeper into your values, your vision, your becoming. You don't need a 5-year plan. You need a soul-led step. And then another. And another. One aligned step at a time, you create a life that feels like home. Reflection prompts. What goals in my life feel expansive and true? Where have I been chasing approval instead of alignment? What is my soul asking me to create, express, or become? Practice. Spend 20 minutes journaling your soul vision. Begin with, 1 year from now I am. Let your words flow freely. Then choose one aligned action to take this week. You are not here to chase. You are here to create. Let your goals be your offering. Let your soul lead the way. 10. The art of sacred boundaries. Protecting your light. As you deepen your alignment with your higher self, something inevitable happens. Your sensitivity increases. You begin to feel more, sense more, know more. The cost of misalignment grows heavier, and the call to protect your energy becomes stronger. This is where sacred boundaries come in, not as walls of separation but as portals of protection. Boundaries are not about keeping others out. They are about keeping your soul safe within. In this chapter we explore how to set boundaries from love, not fear, from wholeness, not wounding. We will uncover why so many spiritual people struggle with saying no and how to reclaim boundaries as a vital form of self-respect, energetic hygiene, and soul alignment. What are sacred boundaries? Sacred boundaries are energetic and practical agreements you create to honor your well-being, values, and soul path. They define what is and isn't acceptable in your life, not as a punishment to others, but as a devotion to yourself. These boundaries protect your time, space, emotions, and energy. Unlike rigid defenses rooted in trauma, sacred boundaries are fluid and conscious. They are built on self-awareness and self-love. They are how you steward your light. You might think of a sacred boundary as a garden fence. It doesn't prevent life from flowing in and out, but it keeps the space tended, intentional, and sacred. You decide what is planted there and what must be gently turned away. Why we resist boundaries. Many of us are taught to equate boundaries with selfishness. Especially for empaths, caretakers, and those raised in environments where love was conditional, the fear of rejection often overrides the need for self-protection. We may resist boundaries because we're conditioned to equate worth with service, so saying no feels like failure. Fear being perceived as cold, unkind, or difficult. Have internalized guilt for prioritizing our needs. Believe that love means giving without limits. Yet the truth is, without boundaries we fragment. We overextend, overgive, and overwrite our own needs until resentment, exhaustion, or illness erupts. Boundaries don't push love away. They create the container in which love can thrive without codependency or depletion. Signs you need stronger boundaries. You may need stronger boundaries if you often feel drained after interactions, struggle with saying no, even when you mean it, or find yourself feeling resentful, guilty, or obligated more than in spur. Another key sign is when you betray your truth to avoid conflict or keep the peace. If your nervous system flares up with anxiety when a request is made, or you constantly replay conversations in your mind wondering if you were too much or not enough, it may be time to recalibrate. 8. A chronic sense of overwhelm, irritability, or burnout can also point to boundary leaks. These signals are not faults, they are invitations back to alignment. Shifting from fear-based to soul-based boundary. Fear-based boundaries are reactive. They come from unhealed wounds and often sound like, never again, or, I'm done with people. While they may be temporarily necessary, they often come with a rigid, guarded energy. Soul-based boundaries, by contrast, are responsive. They are rooted in discernment, self-respect, and love. They sound like, I honor my need for quiet, or, this relationship no longer reflects my truth. Fear-based boundaries defend. Soul-based boundaries defy. You don't need to prove your worthiness to set a limit. Your energy is sacred because you are sacred. Practices for creating sacred boundaries. Boundary Clarity Journal. Spend time reflecting on where your energy feels most compromised. Journal with prompts like, where do I consistently feel drained or resent? What patterns of overgiving do I repeat? Where do I ignore my truth to keep others comfortable? These reflections bring sealing. Righty. Body-based yes and no. Your body is a boundary barometer. Notice how it responds when you consider a request or commitment. Do you feel expansion or constriction? Peace or pressure? Practice making small decisions based on your body's wisdom to strengthen your internal calm. Pass. Sacred no ritual. Write down something you need to say no to but have been avoiding. Light a candle and speak your no aloud in a mirror. Practice saying it with love, not defense. Then write a compassionate way to communicate this boundary to others. Energy hygiene practice. Each morning or evening, take 5 minutes to visualize yourself in a field of golden light. See this light as a permeable boundary, letting in what nourishes and repelling what depletes. Affirm, only that which aligns with my highest good may enter. Real-life story. Mari's inner fortress. Mari was a spiritual counselor known for her compassion. But she often found herself exhausted after sessions. She took calls at all hours, lowered her rates to avoid discomfort, and agreed to attend events that drained her. She believed that being a light worker meant always being available. Eventually, her health declined. She began to experience chronic fatigue and emotional burnout. One day, her own mentor told her, "Your light needs shelter." 2. Mari took a sabbatical. During that time, she redefined her boundaries. She created clear office hours, raised her rates, and began saying no to requests that didn't align. Not only did her energy return, her work deepened. Now Mari teaches that boundaries are spiritual. They are not a barrier to love. They are how we become vessels for art. Integration. Living boundaries as devotion. Begin to see your boundaries as an act of reverence, for your energy, your calling, and your peace. Every no becomes a yes to something higher. Every boundary becomes a bridge back to your soul. Let your limits be loving. Let your standards be sacred. Let your light be protected, not hidden. Reflection prompts. Where in my life am I overextending or overgiving? What truth have I been avoiding to avoid discomfort? What would a boundary rooted in love and clarity look like? Practice. Choose one area in your life where your boundary needs reinforcement. Clarify the boundary in writing. Then practice communicating it with compassion and firmness this week. Reflect on the emotional and energetic impact. 11. Living the integration, becoming your higher self. Spiritual growth is not a peak you reach or a badge you earn. It is an unfolding, a deepening, a continual return to the truth of who you are. As you move through this journey of aligning with your higher self, you will encounter insight, breakthroughs, challenges, and transformations. But the ultimate invitation is not to visit your higher self now and then. It is to become it, to embody that consciousness in your everyday life. Integration means living your truth, not just understanding it. It is the sacred weaving of awareness into action, vision into practice, essence into embodiment. In this chapter, we explore how to make your spiritual alignment a living expression, so your choices, habits, relationships, and presence all reflect the wisdom of your soul. What does it mean to live as your higher self? Living as your higher self is not about being perfect or perpetually enlightened. It means moving through the world with increased presence, compassion, discernment, and trust. It's about living with integrity, where your inner truth and outer actions match. It means responding to life from love rather than fear, from curiosity rather than control. It's not that you never feel react, but that you return more quickly to alignment. You become the observer of your experience without being swallowed by it. You live in partnership with your soul moment by moment. The hallmarks of integration. Authenticity becomes non-negotiable. You stop performing. You stop trying to earn your place. You begin to speak, act, and move in alignment with your inner truth, even if it means disappointing others. You know that integrity is the root of inner peace. Resilience becomes rooted in spirit. You still face challenges, but you don't face them alone. Your sense of stability no longer hinges on external circumstances. You return to practices, to breath, to inner knowing. Your soul becomes your anchor. Presence becomes your power. Instead of chasing the future or reliving the past, you drop more deeply into now. You realize that every moment is a meeting point between your humanity and divinity. You listen more. You rush less. Compassion becomes a way of life. You hold space, for yourself, for others, for life's mystery. Judgment softens. You see the wounded child behind harsh words. You offer grace without abandoning your boundaries. Purpose becomes lived, not just dreamed. You no longer wait for permission or perfection. You act from your soul's pull. You share your voice, your light, your work, not to prove but to contribute. Your life becomes your message. Practices for integration. Daily alignment check-in. Each morning take 5 minutes to ask, what would my higher self choose today? Let the answer guide your priorities, conversations, and presence. You might also ask, what energy do I want to embody today? Sacred pause practice. Throughout your day, create intentional pauses, moments to breathe, reconnect, and recalibrate. These micro-moments anchor you in presence and help you shift from reactivity to soul response. Higher self dialogue. Journal from the perspective of your higher self. Ask a question, then allow the voice of your higher wisdom to respond. This builds trust and deepens your ability to channel soul guidance. Integration walks. Spend time in nature walking without a destination. Let your body lead. Use this time to reflect on your growth, connect with your intuition, and honor the wisdom that emerges in silence. Real-life story. Elon's soul embodiment. Elon had spent years on the spiritual path, attending retreats, reading books, and meditating. But something felt missing. He was inspired in his practice, yet reactive in daily life. He realized that he was visiting his higher self, but not living from it. He began weaving his practice into everyday moments. He brought breath awareness to traffic jams. He started listening more deeply to his partner instead of trying to fix things. He made soul-aligned decisions in his business even when they felt risky. Over time, his life didn't just change, it harmonized. His relationships became richer. His work became a reflection of his values. And most importantly, he felt at home in himself. Integration made spirituality real. It became the way he walked, spoke, rested, and loved. Challenges on the path of integration. You will face moments of forgetfulness, temptation, and doubt. Old patterns will resurface. That's not failure, that's refinement. The path of integration is spiral-shaped, not linear. You revisit lessons from a higher octave each time. Trust the return. You may also encounter resistance from others. As you grow, your energy shifts. Relationships may be strained or released. New ones will emerge. Keep choosing truth over approval. Living as a sacred offering. Ultimately, integration means your life becomes your altar. Every act, no matter how mundane, becomes a chance to embody love. You make your home a sanctuary. Your words a blessing. Your work a prayer. You realize that you are not here to ascend away from life, but to descend fully into it, bringing heaven to earth through how you show up. You are the bridge. You are the practice. You are the embodiment. Reflection prompts. Where am I being called to live more fully as my higher self? What habits or reactions no longer reflect who I am becoming? How can I bring more presence and soul into the mundane? Practice. Choose one ordinary activity this week. Washing dishes, driving, folding laundry, and turn it into a sacred ritual. Infuse it with presence, intention, and gratitude. Let the divine meet you in the details. You are not here to visit your higher self. You are here to become it. Live the integration. Let your life be the teaching. Closing note. The journey continues. You've explored the essence of your higher self, practiced tuning in, and made room for deeper soul-led living. This is not the end, it's a beginning. Alignment is not a fixed state. It is a living rhythm of listening, adjusting, and showing up again and again. The world needs more souls who are awake, aligned, and anchored in love. As you continue this journey, know that your devotion makes ripples. Every act of courage, compassion, and truth creates space for others to rise. May you keep returning to the wisdom within. May you trust the quiet voice of your soul. And may your life be a radiant expression of your divine nature. Reader's Guide. Integrating the Teachings. Daily check-in. Begin each morning with a moment of stillness and ask, how can I live from my higher self today? Weekly reflection. Choose a chapter theme to embody for the week. Revisit the practice and journal your experience. Sacred share. Connect with a trusted friend or spiritual partner to discuss insights, challenges, and synchronicities. Suggested group discussion prompts. 1. Which chapter resonated with you the most and why? 2. How do you distinguish between ego and soul in your daily life? 3. What does surrender mean to you and where are you being invited to let go? 4. How has your relationship with your emotions changed through this work? 5. What does living from your higher self look like in practical terms? Aligning with your higher self. Seraphina Hartwell 5. Spiritual Awakening Book 11. Seraphina Hartwell. By Soul Sanctuary Audio. Copyright Seraphina Hartwell. For the update audiobook by click follow Soul Sanctuary Audio.